Hello, everybody. Welcome to TOI Sports, your daily sports show, cricket show on TOI Sports YouTube channel, where we talk things cricket or Indian cricket to be more specific. And today, again, we have a very power-packed show. Starting off in this panel today, we've got Dwaipen Datta straight from Chennai joining us from there. Then we have Saurabh Somani joining us from down south as well. We have Sahil once again from up north, and we have Srinivas Rao. I think that he's just about to join us. Yes, Srinivas Rao is also supposed to join us. He'll join us shortly. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Today's topic, obviously, we'll look back at what happened in the first ODI at Nagpur, and also talk about all the things that are happening around cricket in general. To start off with you, Dwaipan, since you're such a big fan of one-day cricket, how did you look back at that first ODI which India won? Hard-fought win, much needed win to boost the morale before the Champions Trophy. How did you look at that first win? Shubman Gill stood out.
No, I think Shreyas Iyer stood out. Shubman Gill then cashed in, but that from 24 around 24 to the first counter punch was from Shreyas Iyer, and that showed the kind of depth of this Indian team. Like when it comes to white ball cricket, and when the conditions are more or less IPL centric conditions, then this Indian team is really unbeatable. Like you imagine, we are still playing without power hitters like Abhishek Sharma, Tilak Verma, Rishabh Pant. Like such power hitters are not there in the 11, and still in a 250 run chase in a match like that, 20 for 2, and from there the way they did it with the ease with which they did it, that showed the incredible depth of this Indian lineup in these conditions in white ball cricket. It's such an it's so well rounded. Like Jadeja comes in, takes 3 for 26. Opposition has nowhere to go in the middle overs. Harshit Rana comes in with a couple of wickets. Like everything fell into place. And Shubman Gill's innings was he played well towards the end of the innings. It was a solid innings from a solid player. But my standout player was Shreyas Iyer.
Interesting. Kesar, one player that always goes under the radar is Aksar Patel. He seems to perform whenever India wants in key situations, the T20 World Cup final being a case in point. He is a very useful cog in this lineup.
Yeah, I mean, he's basically what Jadeja promised you to be 10 years ago. He's basically filling up that same space, comes in with the same kind of skill set. I think he's the perfect replacement for RJ kind of going out of the spot. And yeah, any white ball circuit, especially in conditions like ours, Aksar is priceless. I personally think that from a 50 over format, we are not paying attention to the kind of talent that we have. We have, in guys like Aksar, and also somebody was mentioning Washington the other day. In conditions like India, guys like Washington and Aksar are like the perfect kind of match winners. Their ability to slow down the game, their ability to come with with the all round strength that they have, no doubt about it.
Sahil, what did you make of this English effort? They promised a lot with the bat, but they flattered to deceive yet again on this tour. No excuses this time for them, I suppose.
I think this has been happening ever since Brendan McCullum has taken over यार मतलब इतना आप लोग बात करते हो baseball की and all that jazz and you see the decline which they have faced in the white ball formats. I think it's concerning right now, and someone in the English cricket board should be taking note of the performances which this team is putting up, and it's horrible. It's horrible. I think they really need to put their step up because this team is getting nowhere. The English team is getting nowhere because they just know one way to play, and that is to swing. And that is why they are falling short more often than not. And I think it's a serious matter of concern. Considering where English cricket was 3-4 years ago when they changed that template under Ian Morgan, and after that the only way for them has been down south. So to me, it's a matter of concern what's happening with English cricket, especially the white ball format.
Saurabh, while they are faced with concerns of their own, quite surprising to hear Shreyas Iyer coming out and saying that last night He was not supposed to play that match. And here's somebody who scored 500 plus runs in the 23 ODI World Cup. If there's a format that is made for Shreyas Iyer, KL Rahul, Shubman Gill, it is this format, the ODI format. It was surprising that he was going to be left out of the 11 for the first game.
Yeah, I was really, really shocked to hear that he was not in the original scheme of things. You said 500 plus runs in the 2023 World Cup. It was at a strike rate of 114, in ODIs. It was just, he was understatedly awesome. Maybe Kohli scored more runs, and Shami, for me, was the man of the series. But Shreyas Iyer was really, really good in that whole tournament also, and he has been good in ODIs. Like you said, it's a format made for him. So I don't know how they were thinking of leaving him out. If they wanted a Yashasvi in as a left-hander, uh, then it just changes the whole batting dynamic so much, no? Because now you have three guys for two slots opening, and then you have a Virat Kohli who prefers to bat at number three. So you have four guys that you have to fit in the top three. One of them will be batting at a position that they don't like. So I don't know what the thinking was. Like, if you go by pure form, then you know who Yashasvi Jaiswal should be replacing, but that's not going to happen. So,
Oh, yeah. Early punches from Saurabh Somani. So we'll come to the man who holds nothing back, Dwaipayan Datta. Please tell us, what do you make? How much longer are you giving the Indian Test and ODI skipper? You never hold back. Please don't hold back.
See, if he if he it will not happen, but ideally, if he fails in the next two games, he should say, I'm not going to Champions Trophy. That is the ideal scenario, but that is never going to happen. So I'm guessing Champions Trophy will be his last, has to be his last,
In the
because the
ODI
way
format.
in the in all formats, he doesn't fit into any other format at the moment. So his test career is over. It cannot go beyond this. Like, it has to be the end of the international career of Rohit Sharma in Champions Trophy. It can't go beyond this.
KSR, this Dwaipayan is a dangerous person, but what is your take on this Rohit Sharma question? Because from the first ODI, that's the only question that needs to be answered. Because if Virat is fit and is back, who goes out? Because Yashasvi, you can't drop on the basis of one game. Who goes out?
Let me put it this way. If there was one format where Rohit was still waiting to be given a chance to fail, it is the ODI format. Every other format, it's very clear that he needs to go. It is only the ODI format where we talk to. Let's also be respectful to Rohit. Let's also give him his share of respect. That he's a stalwart in the 50 over format. There is no doubt about it. And what he brings to the table is rare, and that's why he's reached the kind of lofty heights that he has. But that said, this is the only format where we were waiting to see what exactly has he got left in him to offer. As far as the other two formats are concerned, he's already bid goodbye to the T20 format, and I totally agree with what the Dwaipayan says about Test cricket. He does not belong, apropos, regardless of whether we play at home or whether we play abroad. Rohit doesn't belong in the red ball format anymore. Well, it doesn't matter how many godforsaken Ranji Trophy or Delhi Trophy matches he decides to play. That's not even a question anymore. As far as the ODI format is concerned, I don't think. I mean, nothing will happen. Obviously, he will go and play the Champions Trophy. I mean, please let's stop expecting things like players saying that okay, I'll drop myself. Those things really don't really happen in the real world. Although even there, I'll agree with Dwaipayan. It'll be good if he were to do that, but those things don't happen. So he will go and he will play the Champions Trophy, and eventually that story has to come into an end, and respectfully so. And the timing is also good. But until then, we can only hope and pray that gets back among runs, because ऐसा तो नहीं होने वाला कि suddenly he gets a brainwave tomorrow morning and he says, listen, I'm not going to Dubai or I will not play the Champions Trophy. This is not going to happen. He will play and he will lead the side. So we might as well pray that he kind of starts getting the runs. That's it.
Sahil, you are right now in a hilly state, or so to speak, in the northern areas, northern state. But we get a feeling by looking at Rohit Sharma that he's in a state of denial. That's a very tough place to be in. And Dwaipan wishes that he sees the writing on the wall, but the wall is no longer with the team. How do we solve this situation?
No, I think Chandresh bhai, one is denial and one is that defiance which you saw in that SCG interview, right? And the moment I saw him bat yesterday, it took me back to the interview where there was so much false bravado in his tone. कि anything can happen in the next 1 month, next 2 months. एक महीना हो गया यार आपका रणजी में रन नहीं लगा, आपका यहाँ रन नहीं लगा. But I think the bigger problem which we need to talk about is the fact that both captain and coach are not on the same page when it comes to the playing 11. There's a very obvious reason why there is no Rishabh Pant in the playing 11. Otherwise, if the coach was so obsessed with left right, he would have benched KL Rahul and got in a Rishabh Pant. That didn't happen. But then there's another side putting out an argument for a Yashasvi Jaiswal. That is why Yashasvi Jaiswal, the left-hander, is there at the top of the order, and you make a scapegoat in Shreyas Iyer. That is what you have conveniently done for the last 12 months. What wrong has the poor boy done to be left out of the side of the first ODI? I completely agree with Saurabh. I think he had a phenomenal World Cup. Couple of knocks which he played, especially the one at Wankhede, where there were so many question marks about his short ball tactics and stuff like that. वो आगे तोड़ा वानखड़े के अंदर यार. मतलब if people are, they've turned a blind eye towards what he has done in the ODI format, then God bless them. And I hope Ajit Agarkar's selection committee kind of intervenes and you restore some sort of order. यार ये लेफ्ट राइट ऑब्सेशन, yes I know, गंभीर का आज से नहीं है, पिछले 10-15 साल से है. दिल्ली रणजी ट्रॉफी टीम में so many ordinary players went on to play 30-35 first class games just because Gambhir wanted a left hander in the middle order. That is going to continue. But why not with Rishabh Pant? वहां पे वो biases और वो क्यों आ रहे हैं फिर? अगर आपको लेफ्ट राइट इतना चलाना ही है, वो बली का बकरा बनना ही था श्रेयस अय्यर ने. But good that he made a statement यार. That was a statement 50. That 50 which he scored, I think I agree with Dwaipan bhai that शुभमन के ऊपर मैं श्रेयस का वो 50 करूंगा, क्योंकि अंडर प्रेशर आकर वो आर्चर को जो 2 छक्के लगाए, वो सब स्टेटमेंट है यार. एंड ही इज इन दैट माइंडसेट. और वो राइटिंग ऑन द वॉल जो रोहित को दिखना चाहिए, वो जब श्रेयस को दिखा था, श्रेयस ने जाके 12 महीने 8-10 महीने स्लॉग किया डोमेस्टिक सर्किट में. दैट इज व्हाई ही इज राइडिंग दैट कॉन्फिडेंस वेव एंड ही विल ओनली कम गुड. But the men who matter, please take that wise call. Shreyas Iyer is your future number 4 in ODIs and he will stay there for the next 10 years. So उसको संभालो, तरीके से इज्जत दो, खिलाओ, वरना आप इस फॉर्मेट में भी टीम का बेड़ा गर्क कर दोगे.
Saurabh, one good thing that has happened is because of all these ongoing problems within the Indian ODI setup as well, there is renewed interest in this ODI series. Otherwise, like Dwaipan keeps saying, ये ODI series हो जाएगा, किसी को याद भी नहीं होगा, and we'll move to the Champions Trophy. Because of these problems, there is interest in this ODI series, and what is to follow? That is the Champions Trophy.
I mean, I think there is interest also because there is natural interest in the Champions Trophy being a global tournament, an ICC trophy event. For until June 25, 28, what was it last year? It was also the last trophy that India had won. So there would have been some interest anyway. But like we have said before on this show, if the BCCI were treating it with any importance, it would have been 5 ODIs and 3 T20s, not 3 ODIs and 5 T20s to prepare for the Champions Trophy. Now, there is an argument to be made that, maybe Shreyas Iyer was not dropped. It's just that they wanted to give Yashasvi some game time. What if some opener gets injured during the Champions Trophy? You don't want Yashasvi to come in sort of cold, like make whatever. He has played international cricket and all, of course, but you don't want him to make his debut there with the extra whatever debut nerves are there. So there is an argument to be made, and it is a valid argument. But that would have been so much easier to do in a 5-match series. Have all your combinations, test them out, do whatever you want to, get the batters back into 50 overs rhythm, which is entirely different from test match rhythm, entirely different from T20 rhythm also. Bowlers, maybe not so much, but I think for the batters particularly, the 50 over rhythm is something that can only come by playing an ODI. It cannot come in the nets because it's such a different beast. And it's something that they have not played. See, if they had been playing ODIs regularly or something, then you can still understand. But it is something they have not played. So you needed that time. So, I'm saying it's not inherently a questionable call to give Yashasvi a game. And even if for the sake of team combination, have Shreyas sit out. but you can't drop Shreyas means maybe he can sit out of one ODI, but he has to be in your plans. The guy has had a phenomenal year in ODIs. The not a year, but whatever the last ODIs tournament that he played, and he needs to be in your first choice 11 is what I think.
Dwepan, looking ahead to the Champions Trophy, now this tournament comes at a time when the format itself is in question. The ODI format itself is in question. How important do you think is the success of an Indian team in this format? Because if the India had won the ODI World Cup, we wouldn't be talking about the format again. But the fact that India didn't win that ODI World Cup in India, if India doesn't win this time as well, do you think the format itself will be in question?
Uh, I think ICC will not let ODI format die, because there are already these ODI World Cups have been slotted, and etc etc. We know where the next two ODI World Cups are, so it will obviously not die. But yes, to keep a sense of interest to ODIs, it is important that India wins the Champions Trophy. But having said that, we are hardly playing any ODIs after Champions Trophy for 1 year. We have 25 T20s lined up leading up to the Champions Trophy, leading up to the
T20 World.
T20 World Cup in February, March next year. So as it is, so it is a kind of a game of like whatever is on the plate that is popular. So I do not think it will make much of a difference, because cricket has its own clientele. India is the market, and Indians will keep following what is being given to them at that point. So I think it will be fine, because India is the market, and India will stay so what whichever format you give them.
So, Srini, do you agree with Dwepan on that?
I mean, I can tell you for a fact that the broadcasters wrote to the ICC, change this format from ODI to T20. It's just that ICC was facing a lot of other issues and they couldn't wrap their head around it. But if you're talking about the broadcaster, it was clear. The message was conveyed that we don't want it in the 50 over format, we want it in the T20 format. And they also gave their reasons for the losses that have been suffered in this format. We talk about we hold 2023 World Cup in India as a benchmark. I'm sorry, there's a little noise around me. I hope I'm audible enough.
Yeah, you are.
We hold the 2023 World Cup as a benchmark. Please remember one thing: had that World Cup not been there in India, which is the biggest market, undisputably biggest market for cricket anywhere around the world, had that World Cup not been played in India, had this been played in any other part of the world, by now we would have been talking about the perishing of this format. The numbers are not there. I don't know how people judge things by looking at television in India. You host a tennis ball cricket match, people will come to watch it. So I don't know how exactly people are judging these numbers by because there are people sitting in stadiums and watching this. But for the money that has gone to that is revolving around Indian cricket right now, I can tell you the ODIs are suffering miserably. In terms of the ad stocks that are sold, and the kind of the interest that revolves around the format. And that is why, and it's not like the broadcaster is not doesn't know this, or it's not like the ICC doesn't know this. It's just that somebody is going to bell the cat someday. It will happen between now and the next light cycle. It will happen, and don't be surprised. This Champions Trophy, the broadcaster requested make this into a T20 format. Who knows? By the time we go to the 2027 World Cup in South Africa, maybe then again we will, the broadcaster may put in a similar request, and maybe at that time the ICC may actually exceed. See, the thing I'm trying to make is this is not about formats. This is not about oppositions. I'm telling you, this needn't be cricket. This could be, one of those 90s could be Chunki Saas Bhi Kabul Bahuti serial on television, all right? Or this could be some Karan Johar movie, or this could be an India-Pakistan game. Let me be very clear. People use these words like, being respectful to the game, etc., etc. But there is also another truth. It doesn't matter whether you play 7 hours of cricket, 3.5 hours of cricket, or 5 days of cricket. Can you give the viewers a property where you ensure that for the amount of viewing time that you are offering, they will sit in front of the screens and watch every single delivery? Can you ensure that? Test cricket, can you ensure that? at most on most occasions, Test cricket has not was not able to offer it, and that is why at one point there was an argument that Test cricket is dying. But is it really dying? If you look at the Border-Gavaskar Trophy numbers, not at all. And I'm sure we are going to discuss that also. So it's not dying. Similarly for ODI, you hold in India, Pakistan 10 ODIs every year. Doesn't matter where they play. People will watch. You host an India Australia ODI game, people will watch. But you suddenly think of Bangladesh versus Afghanistan and Afghanistan versus Sri Lanka and Sri Lanka versus New Zealand is going to sell, and you expect people to sit in front of the television. So people are only reacting to Indian cricket. Are people reacting? How many ODI? Chandresh, nobody tracks this better than you. What is the kind of ODI consumption in the market for matches that don't involve India, or kind of don't involve these marquee three nations? Is anybody tracking that? And the industry is about them. See, people being blind to the Test cricket identity and saying we need to have two-tier Test system. It's so funny. If you have a two-tier test system, India will be in one tier, right? India will be in one tier, which is tier A. So are you saying that forever the countries that in tier two will never play India? Are you saying they will survive without playing India ever? Is that how the economics of cricket function? And if that is the case, and if people think so, then people really are not applying their brain, to how this economy works. So I'm saying, to cut that long story short, to give it very simple, you work towards ensuring that you can deliver a quality product. Then format will not matter. Are you delivering a quality product? That's where the answer lies. And that is why the IPL is a sellable property, because all 10 teams are allowed to spend equal amount of money at an auction, buy equal talent. And that is why the strengths and weaknesses among all the 10 teams are more or less similar, which is why you get quality cricket, which is why matches become interesting, and which is why the property sells, which is not happening in bilateral cricket anymore. And that is why we have these discussions.
Sahil, just building on that, like Srini said, an India match, ticket sell within minutes. The Champions Trophy itself, you had India-Pakistan match ticket selling in few minutes, if not uh, 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 an hour or so. So, how can the sport then survive just depending on one team and this format? Like Srini said, if you don't have the product, you don't expect it to be surviving then for long. Then the format or the game itself.
Yeah, I think it's high time that some sort of innovation comes into play when it comes to chalking out schedules and formats and giving a rethink to the World Cup. Yes, we have tried various things with the World Cup, knockout, Super 8s. Now we are back to a stage where each team plays each other. You get so much cricket in a ODI World Cup. T20, we are trying different things. You're trying different things with the Champions Trophy format. But all said and done, yeah, Chandresh bhai, last year the 23 का World Cup हुआ था, the opening game at the Narendra Modi Stadium, it was a horrible sight to see those empty stands. There clearly wasn't an interaction, right? The largest stadium in the world, and it was kind of all orange and blue seats there. सिर्फ वही देखने को मिल रहा था. और अभी आप बीजीटी के अंदर अगर आप देखते टेस्ट मैचेस के अंदर भी जिस तरीके का ट्रैक्शन था, the amount of people who poured in to watch test cricket, I think that shows you that people are still ready to pay top dollar for good quality cricket, engaging cricket, but no one really cares about the fixtures, which even Srini mentioned. So how much can you have that financial health of the game in order and keep that cricket ecosystem alive and ticking is something ICC will need to figure it out, because while watching that game, the MCG test, I was sitting with a very senior BCCI official, and we were discussing that there is going to be a reality check when it comes to that media right cycle. Right now, just तरीके से overvalued bids हुई है. Sooner or later, Chandresh bhai, you know it better, Srini knows it better, that वो एक reality check आएगा numbers का. How will countries boards then manage to sustain जब वो कॉस्ट कट डाउन होगा? आई थिंक अभी एशिया एसीसी के जो मीडिया राइट्स हुए एशियन क्रिकेट काउंसिल के, दे वेंट एट बेस प्राइस बिकॉज देयर वाज ओनली वन बिडर ऑन द टेबल. सो आपको दिख रहा है कि इवन ब्रॉडकास्टर्स विल बिकम स्मार्टर नाउ आफ्टर व्हाट हैड हैपेंड विद द आईसीसी मीडिया राइट्स इन द लास्ट साइकिल. आईपीएल का जितना ओवर वैल्यूएशन हुआ है, द मोमेंट दैट कम्स डाउन, जब पैसा टेबल पे उतना नहीं रहेगा, तब सिर्फ क्रिकेट बिकेगा. तो उस डायरेक्शन में सोचना बहुत जरूरी है, वरना ये ओडीआई फॉर्मेट एंड whether the South Africa World Cup could be the last 50 over World Cup, all those discussions will keep happening, because you need to find that ticking point where you maintain and you sustain interest when it comes to non-India games, and that is going to be the challenge for the administrators sitting in the Dubai office right now.
And Saurabh, looking at the numbers that have been put out, Border-Gavaskar Trophy ke liye, it's amazing. And they say that Test cricket nobody watches, but look at the numbers that have come out for the Border-Gavaskar Trophy. It's amazing, which tells you something, that the fans are interested in watching some uh, competitive competition. They don't want to watch a one-sided competition. I'm sure those who turned up in Wankhede to watch Australia Afghanistan last year, or the 23 World Cup, would have been the happiest. So that what is missing right now in the sport?
No, I mean, the Border Gavaskar Trophy also, I guess, if the same series had been played out with, let's say, South Africa playing Sri Lanka, it wouldn't have had these numbers. It's because of India that it has these numbers. Competitive cricket in a market that is huge already will have this. I just want to digress a little bit. I've worked in a lot of cricket websites, and what I can tell you is, so I used to do a lot of ball by ball commentary. So looking at the analytics of the users, test matches used to actually have the highest peaks, which is understandable because people who are in office are going to be following ball by ball, and this was before streaming and all became very big. So they are going to follow ball by ball commentary. That is their one way to keep abreast of the scores. Whereas the white ball cricket is played more in prime time, so that will have greater TV audience. So they might not be in front of their screens at that time. But what it shows is that there is an appetite for Test cricket. It's just that, and especially when it is competitive, when it involves a big team, when there are big personalities involved, there is a huge appetite for Test cricket still, and the Border Gavaskar Trophy has shown that. I mean, I saw that in 2009-10 onwards, and it's still true in 2025, where the sport has an enduring appeal, and it does, right? All of us, I think, we have watched great T20 games, great one-day games, great Test matches. The ones that stick in the mind are the great Test matches, right? The ones that stick the longest, the ones that you remember the most from, the ones that are like a slice of life almost. But that's what Test cricket does. It's unique. In any other sport, there's no other sport across the world, I think, that you can play for 5 days, or sometimes all 5 days are weekdays, and you sometimes don't even get a winner at the end, but it's still absorbing. So Test cricket has that. Now, whether it is the competitiveness that will drive it, yeah, I'm sure the competitiveness will drive it. But like Srini alluded to earlier, if you make 2 tiers, if the second tire, unless India becomes so bad in one cycle that they move to the second tire, which I don't foresee happening, frankly. But will those teams never play India? How will that economy sustain them? Because if you want to make 2 tiers, then you have to create a Test match fund, which the top countries should agree to contribute to, because that's where the money is going to come from. They have to agree to contribute to a Test match fund and fund the countries in tier 2 to play Test cricket. Otherwise, if they're not going to play India, they're not going to survive. Test cricket will not happen only in tier 2. So you want Test cricket to be competitive, 2 tiers, great. Have qualification, but it should have qualification and relegation. It can't be that if you are in tier 1, you are lifelong tier 1 member. It should have qualification and relegation, and it should have a proper, financial committee to look at how it can be viable.
Srini, you want to say something? Srini is clearly not agreeing.
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to Saurabh. No. I totally agree with Saurabh. And
Okay.
when I was listening to Saurabh, I immediately came to mind. Look at EPL, the biggest football property anywhere in the world, the English Premier League. You look at the last 10 years and the evolution of EPL, or rather the last 20 years. The evolution of EPL. Where was Liverpool? Where was Tottenham for the longest time in the last 10 years? See how EPL has changed once Liverpool got back to kind of in the winning mode. Otherwise, it was only between those top two. It was between United, City, Arsenal, and that's what EPL was all about. We really didn't know what was the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth team up to in Premier League. It was all about those big ticket matches that were selling, and which I think is, once these teams, so, obviously Premier League made a lot of changes 15 years ago. They kind of tried to, give a bigger PNL balance, a better PNL balance to the league. Put in some newer policies in terms of the spending policies, etc. They made a lot of changes. Again, but that's for another day. The point I'm trying to make is, if you are offering a competitive format, it doesn't matter how many, what are the teams, and anything around it. If you are offering the viewer, the fan, something competitive, sport is always about watching good competition. Can you guarantee that? And in that, the ICC has failed, because what has the ICC become over the last 10 years? The ICC has gone on from being the flag bearer of the game to becoming an event organizer. Witchcraft, 360 entertainment, etc., etc., ICC. That's what they've become. You can deliver a Michael Jackson concert in USA. You can deliver a Sonu Nigam concert in USA. You can deliver a Cricket World Cup in USA. That is what your identity has become. You've become an event management company, not the flag bearer or the caretaker of the game around the world. Because if you were, then you would concentrate in pockets where cricket is being looked at as a sport for the future, build a game there. And I don't know when was the last time that ICC took note of associate nations and spoke in favor of them. The only associate nation, kind of argument that you find in ICC is when the voting happens. I hope things change now and going forward. But and I'm sad that the so-called commentators of the game around the world, they have no time to address this. They really have. I have seen some serious names, saying that whatever. I mean, taking the World Cup to America was a huge whatever. Some kind of shot in the arm for world cricket. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. I've said this before also. So nobody is paying attention here to the fact that all you need to do is understand what can be done to make cricket a more watchable sport. You concentrate on that, and everything else around the game will fall in place. Fans will fall in place, infrastructure, everything around viewership, everything will fall in place. What will not happen, or what any of these things will not happen, only when you allow the game to slow down, when you allow competition to go out of the window, when you allow good rivalries to die down. And I think, in that lies the answer. There's no rocket science. BGT, the Border-Gavaskar Trophy, is a classic example. It is today, outside of ICC tournaments and outside of the IPL. The IPL, the ICC tournaments, outside of these two, it is the world's number one bilateral property, regardless of formats. Regardless of formats. And I'm saying, doesn't matter T20, doesn't matter ODIs, or doesn't matter Test cricket. It is, apropos formats, is the world's most sought after property. And these numbers suggest what? That this BGT, which happened in Australia, is the second most viewed property on television, involving India. The first was 2016-17 Australia Tour of India. That, what is that? That brain fade, that famous
Yeah.
brain fade series. Yeah? That was the most watched series. After that, it is this one. So and imagine, look at the timings. Matches start at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning. To that, I mean, all of us in this show, whether it's Dwaipayan, you, Saurabh, Sahil, me, we have all at some point spent our teenage years, waking up to these timings, putting an alarm and waking up to these timings to watch the game. Imagine, I mean, we were not the only ones who have gone on to probably choose this profession and, be part of the cricket content industry, right? There are general fans who have been accepting of the cricket that gets played in Australia. But today, why have the numbers suddenly exploded like this? You know why? Because India went on to become a more competitive touring side on Australian soil. You need to thank a Virat Kohli for this. You need to thank a Ravi Shastri for this. You need to thank the Indian cricketers for this. Or you before that, you need to thank the Rahul Dravids and the VVS Lakshmans for it. For kind of taking our, there's a wonderful piece that is written by, one of the leading cricket websites, and a brilliant writer, Rahul Bhattacharya. I just cannot get over that piece ever. I mean, the more I read it, the more I feel like reading it. Where he talks about how at one point all that India wanted to do was become the next Australia, right? And when we did that, you see the kind of property that's been created. So that aspirational level is what has made way for this property, right? I'm saying that as long as that hunger stays, doesn't matter which format. But unfortunately, that's what is going out of the window.
I'm glad that Srini said last 10 years because it's been 10 years since I left ICC. So I'm excluded from that particular thing. So I'm very happy that you said 10 years, that ICC has become an event management. I agree with you. Now I agree with you completely. Dwaipen, you've been very quiet.
That was
You're
the
the biggest
inflection
football.
point.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
leaving
Because
was
that was also the last time India won a ICC event also, 2013 Champions Trophy, before last year's T20 World Cup. Dwaipen, you've been very quiet. You're the biggest football fan on this panel, I suppose. No one watches as much football as you do. And you're also somebody who believes in social equity as well. So do you agree with what Srini said?
So on which point? He said a lot
on
of
on the
things.
fact that football, what happened with EPL, where now you've got a competitive structure, so more teams are coming to the fore. Otherwise, I remember the 90s was only about Manchester United. We would be playing in the gullies of Mumbai and only talking about Manchester United.
When it comes to cricket and football, the thing is, club club football is a different structure altogether. Like, club football is something that is competitive by nature, because top teams have money, they buy, and it is happening through the year. And international football happens in pockets. Like, what I see in cricket, with the way it is going, if in Olympics cricket becomes popular, if it does catch on, then there is a chance that, like, cricket becoming only T20, because no one, the countries that will come in, they will also say that there is no point playing in any other format. So the cricket in Olympics is going to be very crucial. If there is no way you can have a competition in test cricket as you can have in T20 cricket, because T- test cricket is extremely specialized format. And even when it comes to India, the younger boys who are growing up, you can see why is test cricket becoming getting over in 3 days. Why are we ranting so much about Shubman Gill's technique? Because they are learning it the T20 way. So maybe still futuristic, but 10 years, 15 years down the line, how I see it is that year long T20 cricket, maybe franchise leagues becoming more popular, and pockets of test cricket, the windows and one final, something like that. Because, and ODI not being there, that is how I think it is going to be. Because club football is basically club football, and international cricket are two completely different entities, completely different. Club football, you can compare EPL to IPL. If you have to compare it, you cannot compare, like, it becomes slightly apples and oranges situation. Because international cricket and club football are not the same. You have to compare international cricket to international football if need be. And international football can be very bad from time to time, very very bad. It becomes unwatchable at times. So that's the thing.
Sahil, he makes a very important point about franchise T20 taking over the sport, which I think will happen very soon.
Yeah.
And that's why the development in UK, England, to be more specific, is very interesting. What happened with the 100, with the sale? Now
Yeah.
look at these numbers. It's massive numbers, and we've got at least three Indian IPL sides buying stake,
Yeah.
of which
Yeah.
Sunrisers Hyderabad has purchased 100% stake, and there is still a possibility that the GMR, which owns a full stake of the Hampshire County, could
Yeah.
also end up buying a team. Are they still in the running? I suppose they're still in the running.
Yeah, I think they're still in the running for the Southern Brave, right? That's the Hampshire-based team. If you're
Yeah,
talking about GMR, right?
yeah.
Yeah, so I think from what I understand, they will still have to fight off competition from other potential investors. That process will be opened up to other investors who didn't probably make the cut in the biddings for the previous teams. ECB allows you to kind of stay alive in the hunt to buy some sort of stake. So GMR को competition face करने को मिल सकता है, and that is where I think the valuations are going for a toss. I think this is insane amount of money. That's a lot of money which is being put on the table. And why I say a lot of money, because two very big IPL franchises, they were very much alive in what was happening in the 100. They submitted their expression of interest early on. Bidding documents we submit kiya, sab kuch kiya. But after that, when the evaluation was happening, I'm forgetting the name of the firm which is handling the entire operations of the 100. जब वहां से उनको numbers और business model का proper एक blueprint मिला, those two franchises were like in a state of shock. Yeah, they said this business model is not sustainable. Yes, Lalit Modi, after the kind of tweets he had pushed out regarding the business model, बहुत criticism दिया उसको, बहुत बोला गया. But that man knows his numbers, yeah, and I think you have to give him credit that he built the beast the IPL is right now. So he clearly understands his math when it comes to the business model of the 100. But I think right now, business model and everything is taking a backseat. Everyone just wants a pie in cricket. Just want that piece in the pie of cricket. अभी सबको मतलब, और डेप्थ तो पॉकेट्स का इंडियंस के पास कमी नहीं है यार. मतलब जहां हाथ डालेंगे पॉकेट लंबा होता रहता है. डॉलर्स, पाउंड्स, मतलब आप करेंसी नेम करो जेबों से निकल जाएगा. और इसीलिए आप देख रहे हो जिस जिस जिन फ्रेंचाइजेस में इंडियंस वर एट लॉगर हेड्स, वहां पे यू सी द काइंड ऑफ इवैल्यूएशन एंड the money, the valuation and the money which was brought to the table. But having said that, what Didi bhai mentioned, I completely agree. We are talking right now when two T20 franchises will be soon coming to an end. The IL T20, SA20, two franchise based leagues in different parts of the world. They're simultaneously happening, coexisting. The IPL is around the corner. Chandresh's favorite India का त्योहार भी आने वाला है. 100 को लेके आप देखो कितना इंटरेस्ट है. सो अभी मुझे मतलब बिग बैश के अलावा किसी फ्रेंचाइज बेस्ड कंपटीशन के अंदर ऐसा लग नहीं रहा कि समथिंग इज एनी लीग इज गोइंग एनीवेयर एनी टाइम सून. आपको मतलब अभी जो मतलब वो बोल नहीं सकता अभी ऑन कैमरा, ऑफ कैमरा बताऊंगा. बट अभी रुको, अभी एक T10 लीग आने वाला है बहुत जल्दी. अब कहाँ आएगा वो बताऊंगा नहीं, बट वो युवराज सिंह वाली लीग की बात नहीं कर रहा मैं. बट समथिंग हैपेंड इन द आईसीसी एंड समथिंग वाज डन, एंड अभी एक T20 एक T10 लीग दिखेगा बहुत ग्रैंड स्केल पे. सो लीग्स विल जस्ट कंटिन्यू टू ब्लॉसम लेफ्ट राइट एंड सेंटर. और थोड़े चेक्स एंड बैलेंसेस भी रहेंगे, जैसे हमने वो देखा वो एनएलसी, आई थिंक वो जो यूएस के अंदर हुआ था एक लीग, वो जो रामलीला मैदान में मैच करा दिए थे जिसमें इंटरनेशनल प्लेयर्स उतार दिए थे. तो वो मतलब वो तो एकदम हॉरिबल तरीके से क्रिकेट हुआ यार. मतलब ऐसा हमारे आजाद मैदान और हमारे दिल्ली के अंदर उनको रामलीला मैदान करते हैं क्योंकि वहाँ रामलीला होता है दशहरा के अराउंड, एकदम लाइक हॉरिबल आउटफील्ड. तो उन सब चीजों पे अगर चेक रखेंगे तो लीग्स कहीं नहीं जा रही है, और ओडीआईज का शेयर आपको मार्केट में कम होता हुआ दिखेगा ही. ऑप्शन ही नहीं है. 365 दिन है यार, उसके अंदर दो लीग साथ में चल रही है, तब भी इतना क्रिकेट है कि सर के ऊपर से निकल जाता है. तो कुछ नहीं होगा तो वो ओडीआई को ही खाया जाएगा. वो पैकमैन गेम होता था ना जिसके अंदर छोटे छोटे डॉट्स खा जाता था, वैसे ही ओडीआई क्रिकेट को वन मैच एट अ टाइम T20 लीग्स खा रही है.
मैं अभी एक्चुअली मेरे पॉकेट में चेक कर रहा था, मेरे पास 10 रुपया ही है. पता नहीं साहिल को डॉलर्स और पाउंड्स कहाँ से दिखाई दिया. मेरे पॉकेट में तो नहीं है. साहिल का पता नहीं मुझे. साहिल
आपने आईसीसी 10 साल पहले छोड़ दिया था.
हाँ मैंने इसीलिए मैंने छोड़ दिया. मैं गरीब इंसान हूँ यार. मेरे पॉकेट में 10 रुपये के ज्यादा नहीं.
साहिल फॉरेन टूर्स बहुत ज्यादा जा रहा है ना.
हाँ इसलिए पाउंड्स और डॉलर्स की बातें कर रहा है. सचमुच
मैं
साहिल के
सोचा
अच्छे
था
दिन आ गए.
हम लोग रॉन्ग प्रोफेशन में घुस गए. मतलब ये लिखने वाले, इसके ऊपर हम लोग खाली फिगर्स के ऊपर लिख रहे हैं. वो ऐसे जाना चाहिए था जहां वी आर डीलिंग इन दोस फिगर्स.
नहीं और एक बात है, साहिल ने बोला 2 लीग चल रहा है साइमल्टेनियसली, पर जिस लीग से सबसे ज्यादा मसाला निकल रहा है उसके बारे में कहा नहीं. बांग्लादेश प्रीमियर लीग.
अरे
यस ड्राइवर चाबी बंद करके सामान लेके चला गया. खिलाड़ी लॉबी में वेट कर रहे हैं, होटल से लॉकआउट हो गए.
वो तो
उसके बारे में बात नहीं
वो
किया.
अलग लेवल का बिग बॉस चल रहा है वहां पे. अलग लेवल
नहीं,
का
उसके
reality
पहले
TV
भी
चल
हुआ था बीपीएल में. आई डोंट नो इफ
हाँ.
यू रेड दैट पीस. आई डोंट थिंक आई कैन से इट आउट ऐसे लाइव शो पे, बट पीपल शुड गो एंड रिसर्च अबाउट द वाइड्स दैट हैपेंड व्हेन एंड व्हाट द बेटिंग मार्केट्स वर सेइंग. दैट्स ऑल आई कैन से.
बिल्कुल. बट
I vaguely remember that.
सौरभ, फाइनल राउंड विथ यू. 100 में भी अभी आईपीएल के टीम्स आ गए हैं. अब जैसे आईपीएल के टीम्स SA-20 में पहुंचे तो साउथ अफ्रीका ने अपने
चंद्रेश
फोर्थ
भाई एक वो
स्ट्रिंग
अभी,
टीम
सॉरी चंद्रेश भाई, एक वो क्वेश्चन आया था अभी, अगर हम वो फ्लैश कर सकते हैं,
आरसीबी का, हाँ
आरसीबी वाला। सो वो आरसीबी वाज वेरी मच इन द हंट फॉर द फ्रैंचाइज व्हिच मिस्टर गोइंका गॉट, बट आरसीबी wasn't flying solo on the table, they had someone supporting them, और उसका डिटेल अभी ऑफिशियल हुआ नहीं है, बट आरसीबी वाज देयर, आरसीबी was on the table, but clearly Mr. Goenka always disrupts the ecosystem with the kind of bids he puts in. So वो कोई competition का chance ही नहीं है यार, वो LSG के
Although
bid से समझ आ गया था
this
कि वो
this
रुकेंगे
might
नहीं.
be the first league that RCB has shown interest in outside of IPL,
Yes,
WPL.
yes,
Because
yes, yes.
earlier they were very clear that they
Yeah,
before the WPL came, they actually had stuff in place. I mean,
yeah,
quite far-sighted and all that, which they have not always been with the men's team. They had
yeah.
stuff in place to, get a WPL franchise. So, yeah, so it's interesting that they were interested in the 100 also now. They're
Yeah, I have
expanding.
a theory on that which we'll discuss off camera. But अभी जैसे
हाँ,
साउथ अफ्रीका टीम
समझ गया कहाँ जा रहे हैं. The king of good
SA-20 में,
times,
हाँ
the king of good times, Sandesh
यस
Narayan.
यस यस या सो SA-20 में आईपीएल टीम्स ओनर्स हैं. तो लास्ट ईयर साउथ अफ्रीका सेंट अ फोर्थ स्ट्रिंग साइड टू प्ले a test series in
Yeah,
New Zealand, yet made it to the
yes,
final of the World Test Championship.
Yeah.
Now, I want to understand from you, will we reach a situation now, because with so much money being poured into the 100, will the franchise owners demand their own pound of flesh, and will we see a reduction in the number of test matches that England plays, b the timing of the test matches, because they are very particular about 2 Lords test matches, 5 टेस्ट मैच होगा, साल में 6 टेस्ट मैच होंगे, ये वो सब. क्या ये सब, सौरभ, do you see all this coming down, and the English, the snooty Englishmen being told आप साइड में बैठिए, हम डिसाइड करेंगे कैसे होगा?
लंदन स्पिरिट तो मुंबई स्पिरिट होने वाला है तो
MI spirit.
नहीं मतलब आई एम टॉकिंग जस्ट इन टर्म्स ऑफ जनरल द स्पिरिट आल्सो
हाँ
बट
हाँ
but apart from the franchises demanding their pound of flesh, which will be very interesting. Now, if I was in the franchises place, I would demand as many pounds of flesh as I could if I've paid that much money. Now, it all depends on how that contract was structured, and what they say, like what you can demand, what you get for what you're paying. After that, you decide. You will get, if the ECB has made it very clear, this is what you will get. You will get a part of the 100 and nothing else. There is no expansion. There is nothing. Our test season remains sacrosanct. If this is clearly communicated, and after that also people have paid, then ठीक है, तुम्हारा risk है, you pay करो. If it is slightly nebulous, ना, people are going to push.
नहीं सौरभ, एक मिनट, एक कमेंट आया, बहुत जरूरी है बात करना. हाँ, इंग्लैंड का टेस्ट कम करवा, वरना रूट तेंदुलकर का रिकॉर्ड ना तोड़ दो.
तो फिर उसको every IPL team should be bidding for Root, every T20 franchises should be bidding for Root, and make him change his technique to T20 technique. So then something can happen. So because this will take some time to happen, अगले 4 साल में नहीं होने वाला, और जैसे रूट जा रहे हैं अगले 4 साल में he could beat it. So apart from that, but yeah, and outside of the franchises demanding their pound of flesh from the cricket boards, it's very interesting how cricket itself will be structured. Now if MI have teams in 5 different leagues, won't it make sense for them to have the same players playing in all leagues? So how long before, maybe it won't happen with Rashid Khan right now, who is playing for 3 MI teams, I think at last count.
Yeah.
How long before he plays for Mumbai Indians in the IPL? एक गुजरात टाइटंस का प्लेयर तो ऑलरेडी आ गया है, दूसरा भी आ सकता है. So it might. Dwaipan bhai has something to say.
What I think can be a game changer is that the moment Indian players are open for other leagues, that will completely throw the ecosystem out of the window. That will be then, because at the end of the day, the money is for Indian players, actual money. So
That's true.
मेरे को लगता है like that.
But I don't think that will happen. They will not allow that.
Can happen only after Olympics. That's why I'm saying Olympics is very important, because American money, if it comes in, then it can be interesting.
Interesting. तो ओलंपिक्स में अगर T20 हिट हो गया, now what happens to the English team then? In that sense, because you have GB team over there,
Yeah.
and you can't
That
have West Indies over
I
there.
actually that is a question that has been discussed in some niches. It'll be really interesting. I don't think there's an answer to that. So whether they will play as GB or England,
They have to
Wales,
play as
Scotland,
GB.
I don't even know.
They have to play like as GB, na?
They
And
They
the
have
have to
to
play
Irish
as
team will
GB.
also have to be broken, because the Irish
Hmm.
team is currently Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland, and Northern Ireland is part of UK. So the
No, but
Irish players.
only some 6 or 8 teams will qualify. Na? So
Yeah.
Ireland
So
anyway might not
the
even make it.
what
गलती से
ICC
अगर
had prepared
you're
in
so
the first
anti-associate,
draft.
यार, Saurabh.
No,
So
I'm
Yeah,
saying
sorry, my bad. You're so anti-test teams. Ireland is a test team. I'm sorry.
आई थिंक आईसीसी ने जो पहला ड्राफ्ट डॉक्यूमेंट बनाया था पिच के लिए, उसके अंदर दे मेंशन दैट दे विल फॉलो आईसीसी का रैंकिंग मॉडल बाय डिसाइडिंग टीम. सो क्लियरली वो जीबी वाला मॉडल नहीं रहना चाहिए, इंग्लैंड ही जाएगा उसके अंदर. अब वो
No, but
नाम क्या करते हैं, वो
because
टेक्निकलिटीज आप सही कह रहे हो.
बट नाम तो जीबी होगा क्योंकि इंग्लैंड बोल के कुछ है ही नहीं
हाँ,
वहां पे.
हाँ,
करेक्ट
वेस्ट
करेक्ट.
इंडीज कैसे जाएगा, वो भी तो है एक.
और वेस्ट
और
इंडीज
जैसे
T20 cricket
96 कॉमनवेल्थ में गया था
हाँ.
जमैका
98
एंटीगा
हाँ.
ऐसे जाएगा. हाँ
98
So
98
if the West Indies
98 yeah.
team medal in the Olympics, each of those countries will be credited with the medal. Just technicalities wise, it'll be
No,
interesting.
no,
ये थोड़ा
the
ज्यादा हो
country
गया
that
अभी.
wins the medal. Like India was struggling against which was Scotland
Antigua.
is this country, Antigua, right?
Antigua,
India was
Huh.
struggling against Antigua
हाँ,
when rain came. I remember that match.
Viv Richards played that game.
Viv Richards was playing. No,
I think
no,
he was
no.
playing that game.
Cartley
98.
Ambrose was playing.
No, Curtly Ambrose was there. I think Viv Richards was also playing that game, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he had retired by then. No, by 98.
देश के
98
लिए
में
सब
तो
लोग.
wouldn't have been there, no?
Commonwealth. That Commonwealth Games where
No,
Commonwealth
he was
Games
not.
which
Richie
South
Richardson
Africa
was.
won. South
Richie
Africa's
Richardson was. Richie
South
Richardson
Africa
was.
won. Yeah.
Richie Richards. South Africa is only a global title apart from that Champions Trophy that they won long back. Is the Commonwealth gold medal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
But
why
yeah, so
that's why Commonwealth Games में cricket वापस नहीं आ रहा. So
but
नहीं
मोटा
हुआ
मोटी
तो अभी कॉमनवेल्थ गेम्स में तो हुआ, कहाँ एशियन गेम्स हुआ था क्या वो? अभी इंडिया
नहीं
नहीं,
नहीं
उसमें-
Commonwealth
उसमें-
Games
women
हुआ था.
played.
There was this Toronto
men's-
का India Pakistan and Commonwealth had clashed. So
So that
India's
time
creme de la creme went to Commonwealth Games. Sachin Tendulkar was
Sachin
playing
Tendulkar
Commonwealth
went to
Games.
Commonwealth Games because the
And India's
IOA
second team
insisted
was
कि they
playing
wanted
Pakistan
Tendulkar.
in
They said
Toronto.
हमको
कोई
कोई
आए
भी
ना
टीम
आए,
दे दो,
तेंदुलकर है.
तेंदुलकर होना चाहिए उसमें. And I
फिर
remember
बाद में
somebody comparing
वहां से हार के आए, फिर तेंदुलकर और जडेजा दोनों टोरंटो गए.
हाँ, और वहां पे
नहीं
पांच
टोरंटो
मैच
नहीं
के
गया
पांच.
वो. नहीं
हाँ गया. अरे he went to play the last match.
he
Tendulkar
played.
and Jadeja
Tendulkar
both
played the
played
fifth
the last
match
match.
in Toronto.
Played the
He
fifth
played the
match.
Went
fifth
for the
match.
last match.
हाँ.
Acha,
Yeah.
went for the fifth match.
That
Okay.
was the series in which I think Inzamam got creative with a bat and a spectator.
No,
No,
97.
no. That was the year
Oh, that was
before.
the previous year. Okay.
Yeah.
But I remember
Ganguly's year.
when the Indian team was split into two, it was likened to a fielder who's under a high swirling catch, doesn't know which way it will come, so he stretches out both hands like this. एक इस side, एक उस side, एक में ball गिर जाए. Because
अभी
it was
Yeah.
like they made
अभी मतलब
teams of equal strength. So
बट
actually this
कोविड के टाइम पे भी तो हुआ ना. एक टीम
हाँ.
इंग्लैंड में थी, एक टीम श्रीलंका में थी.
No, now we
Yeah.
have actually the bench strength to make, send equal strength teams. उस time थोड़ा सा ऐसे नहीं था.
Now we
और
can
उसी
send three
टूर पे
teams.
जस्ट टू डाइग्रेस, उसी सहारा कप पे ये हुआ कि सेलेक्टर्स वांटेड टू सेंड जयप्रकाश यादव फ्रॉम एमपी और रेलवेज,
and the
एंड
wrong
दे एंडेड अप सेंडिंग
and
ज्योति
Jyoti
यादव
Yadav.
फ्रॉम यूपी बिकॉज वो सेलेक्टर को नाम याद नहीं आ रहा था.
This is like
चलिए,
Kings
और-
11 Shashank Singh situation.
हाँ, but on that note, gentlemen, thanks a lot to Srini as well. मोटा मोटी साहिल, द्वैपन, सौरभ, क्या लग रहा है आगे क्रिकेट, मतलब डे बाय डे लेना है या लॉन्ग टर्म सोचना है, जैसे हम अब सोचने की कोशिश कर रहे थे. स्टार्टिंग विद यू द्वैपन.
I think we should take it day by day because, like as you're saying, Champions Trophy होगा, उसके बाद then 25 T20s India खेलेगा. So अभी day by day ही लो. अब उतना futuristic होने का जरूरत नहीं है. Let's take it day by day. We are sorted till 2027 ODI World Cup at least.
साहिल.
I agree. At 27 ODI World Cup, South Africa, no better place to host a ICC tournament. Past has been very glorious when it comes to the tournaments they've hosted, ICC tournaments. So 27 तक safe हो, but I think ये right cycle से पहले तैयारी हो चुका होगा where the sport is headed, the direction in which the sport is headed now.
सौरभ?
लॉन्ग टर्म सोचो, हर मंथ रिव्यू करो।
ओ बढ़िया 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 बढ़िया। तो मतलब हम रविवार से जब हम वापस जुड़ेंगे 12:30 बजे, फिर से हम वही बातें करना शुरू कर देंगे। रोहित शर्मा फॉर्म,
तब
टेस्ट क्रिकेट में क्या होना चाहिए, इंडिया का कप्तान कौन होना चाहिए, विकेट कीपर कौन होना चाहिए। ऐसा लग रहा है हम रोज वही बातें कर रहे हैं, तो उससे थोड़ा हट के बात करना थोड़ा अच्छा था इसकी वजह से। बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आप तीनों का फॉर ज्वाइनिंग अस टुडे ऑन TOI स्पोर्ट्स, एंड टू यू द व्यूअर, प्लीज कीप liking, sharing, subscribing the channel, and don't forget to press the notification bell. Goodbye for now.